So let us rejoin the Black Bonspiel. When we last left our friend Wally, he was having some second thoughts about his curling match against the devil. In particular, he was concerned that he was wagering his last chance to ever see his deceased wife Mary in the next world. He asked the devil if he could take back the deal, and the devil simply sighed and said no. That means Willie is beyond the point of no return, and he must go on with the match, and risk it all for a shot at the Briar. The Black Bonspiel of Wully McCrimmon, Chapter 6. Back in the Depression 30s, crude oil was discovered for the first time ever in the foothills, thanks to the persistence of a petroleum engineer stubborn enough to drill to a new depth almost a mile beneath the Earth's surface. He got wildcat bingo. Soon a forest of derricks spired and spewed roughneck jobs as well as oil, and the flames thrown by the fires lit the night sky for miles around. Happy days were here again. The field lived for about 15 years till the drilling action moved north and most of the rigs were taken down, until by the winter when Wally McCrimmon was wagering his soul in the crucial curling match of all time, only a few remained. Early in the evening of the great match, an unusual thing happened in the quiet oil field near Shelby. The slender crescent of a new moon and a clouded sky obscured the landscape. Suddenly, out of one of the remaining derricks belched a great gust of flame, accompanied by a lambasting explosion and clouds of thick smoke. Figures began to appear in the smoking darkness. As it cleared, 3 of them were revealed to be men in long coats with curling brooms over their shoulders, while the 4th was dressed in a kilt and carrying bagpipes. As they set off on their march toward Shelby, the pipes began to squeal and drone. The yelp and howl of coyotes soon answered them. Drink, with their brooms and their tams, had gathered in his shop well ahead of the match for briefing. "Now then," Willie said, "this is probably the most important match of our lives, especially mine." "How's that?" Crosscut asked, looking up sharply. "Tak my word for it, Crosscut," Willie said. "All right, fill me in. First, who we curlin' against?" "Out of town, Rink," Pipefitting said. "New to me." "Me too," Malleable said. "Willie set it up." "Well, where do they hail from?" "Not sure," Willie said. "Just stopped off on Shelby on their way to a Bonspiel out on the coast. Their skip dropped into my shop to have his curling boots mended. We got to talking, and it was his suggestion." "You fellows never tell me nothing." "Please, Crosscut, time's running out on us. It's scheduled for 9:30 sharp. Oh, how's your back?" "Great. Haven't had a twitch from it past 3 months." "Annie know you're breaking the Lord's Day Alliance curling by-law?" Malleable said. "No. She thinks I'm curling high mass at St. Therese. You told me to keep it quiet. I did." Crosscut's and Annie's marriage was a mixed one. She attended Shelby's United Church while Crosscut worshipped at St. Therese, now and again. Willie looked down at the note sheet he had prepared. "Crosscut, as lead, you curl first, Rock, so I'll begin with you. Starting each end for us, you're setting our game strategy. So take care tonight in getting the speed and draw weight of your rocks right for placing your shot. We think the other rink tonight are going to be devilish, very tough to beat, so a good start's important. Malleable curling second. We can depend on you for a takeout shooter, so we can gain the offensive advantage early in the ends. Pipefitting. You're our troubleshooter to do in and out turns. and to turn the match around if they're counting rocks in the house. You can switch it in our favour with just one good shot. You're my vice skip, and I need your help and good judgment in calling my shots. Do my best, Pipefitting said. Me too, Malleable said. Aha, Crosscut said. We've got to go on the offensive right from the first end with a strong draw game, leaving our rocks as close as possible to the button, and with good guards in front of the house. Not too far to either side, but not too close to the centre line. So let's establish, if we can, a good lead in the first 5 ends, and then play defensively to maintain it till the final 10th. Sounds great to me, Pipefitting said. What shape's the ice in? Pretty good last night. Pebble surface, clear of frost. We'll sweep her good when we get there. After a few rocks it'll get keener, faster, and straighter, and trails will develop, and we'll make note of them. Wally went to the whiskey drawer, took out the bottle, and began to pour shots into glasses lined up on the counter. As they lit one, they lifted high, clinked, and drank to victory. As he lowered his glass, Crosscut said, I still don't know who we're curling against. Where are they from? Down under, Pipefitting said. Come on, nobody curls in Australia, New Zealand. Maybe they do, Pipefitting said. We'll see. Hey, hear that? As they listened, the sound of bagpipes shrilled and groaned, clearer and clearer. The visiting team, Malleable said. Gotta be. And we got to get over to the rink right now, Wally said. You fellas skin over there on the double. I'll catch up to you once I get into my kilt. For most of Shelby's residents, the pipes were no great matter. Many of them probably mistook the sound for the howl of foothills coyotes. But not the Reverend William Pringle, whose ears first caught the sound while he was in the middle of his Grace United Church evening service sermon. He had to finish the service, of course, but as soon as the benediction was given, he'd be able to head for the Jock McNair curling rink. No, he'd have to go home first and drop off his clerical robes. Annie Brown had not waited up for Charlie doing high mass that evening at St. Therese. She'd gone to bed early, and because of the sleep problems she'd been having lately, she had taken a double dose of sleeping pills. But even they hadn't been proof against the bagpipes as they reached their squeal peak. She sat up in bed. Bagpipes? Who could be? Of course, they must be denouncing a curling match, or matches in a tournament bonspiel. She grabbed up the phone on the bedstand and dialed. She let it ring 10 times. No answer. Where was Pringle when you needed him? And where was her husband? Before she dressed, she headed downstairs to Charlie's basement shop. His broom was not in the closet where he always kept it. She went back upstairs, dressed, and tried the phone for Pringle again. Of course, he was behind his pulpit in Grace United. She checked the alarm clock. 10 to 9. He'd likely make it home by the time she got over there to alert him. Hold up, you guys, Pipefitting said, as he and Malleable and Crosscut reached the McDougal implement sheds that neighbored the Jock McNair rink. Them pipes ain't so loud now, coming from a different direction. Yeah, Crosscutting said, east of town. West, Malleable corrected. You left-handers always got stuff twisted ass backwards. Hell, we do. Coming from over there, Malleable said as he pointed his broom towards the Spray River. What do you think about bagpipes? Can't tell where they're coming from. All directions at once, Crosscut said. Spray River, all right, Pipefitting said. Maybe gonna take a few practice shots before the match. Wally, in his McCrimmon kilt of MacLeod of Harris tartan and cocked bonnet, Willie had caught up with them. We figure they're down on Spray heaving rocks to get ready for the match. Could be, Willie said. And we ought to be doing the same, Malleable said. We got time, Malleable. Depends on them. Worse and worse, Crosscutting said. How fussy for a pickup game can you get? 'Tis not a pick-up game, Crosscut, Willie said.
I know that now. You're in your kilts. They're playing bagpipes and warming up on the spray.
Aye, we'd better warm up too, Willie said. Let's get to it. As they entered the Jock McNair rink, Malleable said, They ain't blowing the pipes very cheerful. What's the tune, Willie? Finest pibroch ever composed, during the Covenanter wars against the Sassenach. When they came at us Presbyterians, we were ready for them until we heard them playing the pipes. Our pipes. They had no bloody right to play them, so we broke ranks and headed for them at a charge, to be massacred to a man. Little did we know it was Slicket, treacherous Campbells, at it again. How was that, Wally? Malleable said. The reason we heard the pipes was that the Campbells were piping up the English baggage for them.
What's Sussex?
Crosscut said.
And what's all this about?
The English James II had converted to your faith, Crosscut.
Good for him.
I will. Well, you still haven't told me what the tune is. Sorry, Malleable, is a sad dirge in memory of one of my ancestor who died in battle. Maccrimmon shall never return. He did not. When was he ever going to show up? Annie Brown sat waiting and shivering on the front porch of the Grace United Church parsonage. Like most men of the cloth, Pringle was long-winded and seemed to be setting a sermon record tonight. She got up from the porch chair. She would head for the church and wait there till he closed the Bible, then on to the Jock McNair rink directly to put a stop to this wicked seventh-day Bonspiel. Many of the people of Shelby were in bed by now. Many of the homes she passed were in darkness. A car passed her and she was able to identify it from the model and license plate. Dr. Fitzgerald. It turned left onto Lafayette. Likely an emergency night call for him. Probably Mame Harris's 2 cottages on the end of town. Another niece with a burst appendix. More like an abortion on one of them. She caught sight of Pringle at the end of Bearspaw Avenue, just as he turned the corner onto Lacombe, which did not lead to the parsonage. He must have spotted her too. She crossed the street and caught up with him.
Hold up, Mr. Pringle. You should know they're curling. Those bagpipes woke me up, and Charlie, he hadn't come home from St. Therese, where he said he was going to be, where he lied to me. He's curling lead for that McCrimmon rink, breaking our Lord's 6th commandment, 4th. I checked out Charlie's shop, and his broom was gone. His tam, too. Right now he's probably in that rink, breaking the Sabbath curling by-law. Lucky if he doesn't break his back. You know that disc slips out on him when he just sneezes. After this he's not curling again, not just on the Sabbath, but ever again, for the rest of his life.
Mr. Pringle was edging away, and she grabbed his arm.
Please, Mr. Pringle, aren't you going to do something about it?
Of course, I was about to, before you accosted me. Again.
Doesn't look to me like you're headed for Jock McNair rink.
I am, after you drop my arm, and I'll drop my robes off at home.
I'll come with you.
Thanks, but I can do it on my own. He strode off. Annie stared after him.
Rude, as usual.
So that's the end of chapter 6, and it's the last chapter before we get into the match proper, which will consume the remaining chapters of the book. Our Willie McCrimmon factoid of the day concerns the 10 Commandments. You may have noticed in that last scene that Annie thinks that keeping the Sabbath holy is the 6th commandment, when in fact Reverend Pringle corrects her and tells her that it's the 4th. In the Reformed Church, in the Presbyterian Church or the United Church, it is the 4th commandment. The only reason that Annie thinks it's the 6th is because earlier in the novel she thinks that it's the 8th commandment to keep the Sabbath holy, and Willie corrects her and says that it's actually the 6th commandment. Now the 6th commandment is thou shalt not kill, so I think Willie may have been thinking about his own desire to kill Annie Brown when he gave her that piece of advice, but Reverend Pringle's the one that's got it right here and over the next few chapters as well.